and welcome to As Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. I'm Becca.
I'm Paul.
And I'm still Brian for this point in time.
Yep.
Just this point in time.
Until you guys kill me later.
Which is, as we discussed before, in the past.
Which would also be... Oh, why? Why are we starting with time travel? We didn't even...
So, this week, as we mentioned before on last week's podcast, and mentioned a million times, we could be watching Watchmen, but we are reading Watchmen. It's a Vertigo title, which yet again, like Fables, is under DC, but it's just basically the slightly off-kilter DC title stuff.
A lot less Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Forewarning, it's weird to say, but forewarning, this book is pretty violent and it's pretty adult. It's very adult, so just forewarning if you're looking into getting this book.
If this book had a rating, it would be R.
It would be X, pretty much. No, I'm just kidding. R is probably up there. It's got some really dark...
Well, what'd the movie get?
The movie got
an R.
The movie got an R.
They probably rated an R.
Yes. I'm just saying. Letting you know. So, Vertigo title, Watchmen. As usual, we'll be going through story, art, and then a spoiler section, where we obviously won't spoil anything until the spoiler section. So, here's the story.
Alright. Okay. So, bear with me a little bit on this one. The story, it's actually... Okay. So I'm going to try and do a movie trailer voice to kind of tie into the fact that this was a movie that wasn't very popular, but I decided not to. Never mind. Scratch that. Set in an alternate timeline where costume vigilantes and superheroes exist. Is it obvious I'm reading from a script this time? Because I want to make sure I got all the information right. It's a lot happening. Shoot. Set in an alternate timeline where costume vigilantes and superheroes exist, Watchmen opens up with an investigation of a murder. So already, if you like murder mystery kind of things, it's always good. I like murder mysteries. So, the victim is one Edward Blake. Blake was actually a superhero known as the Comedian. And he was employed by the United States government. So, that's some background information we learned at the very beginning from some cops. I don't remember their names.
It wasn't
I don't know
really
if they were,
important.
Yeah,
they don't pop up again.
Yeah, they never show up again.
No,
well,
for a murder mystery, there's not a lot of cops.
Well, because as they've shown, in comic books, why have the cops do it when you could have superheroes do it? Because that's where one of the coolest character probably in the book comes in, where you've got Rorschach, who has a mask which has like these moving ink blots and things as described. It's pretty cool. Which
Rorschach test.
Yeah, you see? Yeah, see what they did there?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Anyway,
Puns.
Is it a pun or is it just a reference? I don't know.
Play on words.
It's a reference. Play on words. No, reference. It's not even playing on... He's a Rorschach. Like, that's the point.
Visual
he is
gag.
a Rorschach. It's like saying, I'm the apple, I'm an apple. Like, that's basically what he is.
Is that a hero?
I hope so.
If not, copyright dibs. We have so many good ideas on this podcast. Okay. So, basically, Rorschach is interesting because he views everything in... Again, now this might be more of a pun. In black and white. There's politically
yeah.
and as from basically there's good, there is evil, there is no gray area. Which, okay, yes, Rorschach things. I could just go in circles on this for a while. So he basically, after looking around, believes that because Blake was a superhero, that the comedian's death is part of a conspiracy to kill a bunch of the former heroes. So that means that Rorschach thinks that he himself and some of the other heroes that used to exist before the government kind of banned vigilantes, that they might all be targeted. So he goes and he gets in touch with a lot of the former heroes, including Dan Dreiberg, who is Night Owl, which is basically like Batman if Batman was obsessed with owls instead of bats, and was not a millionaire playboy, but just had like the gadgety things.
He's a thousandaire.
Yeah, thousandaire sounds about right. Then you've got Dr. Manhattan, whose real name was John. He's basically a superhuman. The best way to describe him, he's the most superpowered of all the heroes. He's got, he just can disintegrate people, he can rearrange matter. In the comic, he's responsible for a lot of technological advances and things due to his ability to magic science.
Yeah, really, none of the heroes past Dr. Manhattan are actual superheroes, I would say, or at least they're not mentioned to have any super strength or super thought or super anything. They're pretty much just
Well,
masked people.
Osmondeus is
Osmondeus
yeah.
is the smartest man, but I mean, it's still
mortal level smart.
I guess so, although, argue.
Yeah.
Yes, I could, but basically almost everybody else is pretty much, like Night Owl uses gadgets and everybody else, Comedian uses guns.
Which is the best superpower.
But basically nobody has, like, super strength or flies or does whatever. They all have some pretty...
Except for Dr. Manhattan, who basically can do, like, almost all those things.
Blake tried to fly.
Yeah, a couple. Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
He fell out a window. That was the murder scene.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention how he murdered. It's kind of an iconic thing, and I kind of just skipped over that. Like, yeah, he's dead. But, yeah. No flight.
He would have enjoyed that pun.
Maybe. I don't know. He's not really fun. Anyway, okay, so Dr. Manhattan, and there's also, Laurie, this is a fun name, Laurie Juspetzik, she goes by Silk Spectre, actually, Silk Spectre 2, because her mother was a previous Silk Spectre.
Yes.
So that's always fun.
She's often called Jupiter as well, because that's her Americanized name.
Yeah, which I should have probably written down rather than trying to be like, oh, I'll be able to pronounce Juspetzik on the spot.
It was a Polish name, and yeah, so sometimes.
Juspetzik. Anyway, alright, and last but not least, Adrian Veidt, who goes by the name of Ozymandias, who we mentioned before was the, at least self-proclaimed, one of the smartest men in the world, and also capitalized when he was forced to retire from being a hero on his hero persona by becoming a wealthy industrialist and kind of corporate manager. So he's got this whole he's got like a shipping company. He's got a whole bunch of other. He has an action figure toy line of himself.
He's got a toy line of the heroes, which I think technically as a TV show, but it's different. They mention in the comic has a bunch of small, like readable books almost of, hey, this is what's happening in the universe, and literally there's an advertisement. It's like, from your favorite show, Ozymandias and his cat and the things and Night Owl and this bad guy. So yeah,
which I think's fun. That kind of idea is always fun to me. But okay, so Rorschach sets out to warn all of them that, hey, someone might be trying to murder us. While not everyone agrees with him and they think he's kind of a conspiracy theorist because Rorschach is, as aforementioned, a little bit off and also sees the world very much in black and white. I'll keep saying
that just depends on how you see Rorschach.
We're gonna have so many of these puns.
I mean, no offense, but
I mean, when you look at Rorschach, what do you see?
Murder pretty frequently.
Yeah.
I think that's part of his character. But yeah,
Yeah.
It's almost like we're picking up on what were supposed to be allusions to his character.
That I did pick up at all during most of this book, but fairly sure there's a lot of it.
Yeah, I love how that's the one symbol we talk about this entire thing is like, oh, you get it? 'Cause it's a black... Okay. Anyway. I totally lost. Alright. Let's see. So,
I missed the pages with ba 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 ba.
Placeholder words. It's better than going, I hate saying, all the time. Anyway, alright. So, we get a little bit of backstory. I'm moving along. We're reading from the trade, so all of the issues are put together. So, after our first issue, which kind of introduces everyone, we've got, the next issue focuses on the comedian himself and kind of goes into how, despite his name, the comedian was actually rather a dark dude. Like,
more irony.
Yeah,
He's pretty. Well, I think that was the point of his character. Was basically like,
are you
like the way? What?
Are you sure that was the point of his character?
Well, no, like because Dr. Manhattan even says like I seem to be the only one understanding the human condition of Vietnam and all these other wars that are going on. Everyone doesn't understand this except for comedian, who seems to understand and then just not care. Like, literally, like, his joke, was he understood how dark and terrible, like almost like Rorschach. He understands how dark and terrible people are, and chooses to laugh about it and shoot them and not care. Like that was like, I don't know. It just seemed like it almost matched. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
To me.
No. I was
Yes.
trying. Yeah, I was just going by normally. It's not like
Normally you
someone
think
who-
of a comedian to make you laugh, and he killed you.
yeah, which is not what you want to hire a comedian for. You usually want your money back at that point. Terrible birthday party. Anyway,
Although, good business practice if you get the money up front.
there you go. I mean,
More ideas.
I was going to say copyright. Ooh, I'm not gonna claim that one. Though.
Patent pending, patent pending,
think you
patent
Can we
pending.
copyright murder?
Can I just yell copyright and it gets copyrighted? Copyright.
I would. Here's an idea. Okay, sorry.
Copyright the word copyright?
You beat me to it. I was going to say, what would happen? Can we copyright the word copyright? So every time someone copyrights something, we get money for the copywriting the copyright.
Ooh, would a little C go above the little C that goes above the words?
Little
But then another little C would have to go above that one.
Little
It would
And
be
printing costs
infinite.
would go through the roof.
Oh my gosh.
The little C's would be infinite.
We could doom humanity.
With little C's. Fun fact, you can make them on the computer if you put the parentheses, then the
Around
C,
the
and
C.
right? Yeah, right?
do the same thing with trademark.
Really? Oh, I haven't tried trademark.
Yeah.
Oh.
C's.
Look at that. See, I learned something.
And I hope you did too, audience.
The more you know.
Although apparently not about this book. We're not.
Oh god, yeah, we were terrible at that, apparently. Okay,
It's okay. It's
back on
better.
track. Okay, so, comedian. Not really funny. Or someone you want to hire for a party. Basically...
I mean, yet again, going into the adult themes of this book.
I was going to say...
Yeah,
just kinda
he
cross-
We
impregnates-
warned you about this.
Cross
This
that
book
out.
is not family friendly.
So the point is, he
Yeah,
impregnated
exactly.
somebody, killed her instead of taking responsibility for the baby, tried raping the original Silk Spectre successfully. He's just a butthole, is the point. He does a ton of terrible things. Like, the flashback is like, why are you even at his funeral? Like, what?
Yeah.
But,
Well,
yeah.
we all have that one friend that's like, oh, you.
He's a,
Whoever
so
you are, you know it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
that was the premise of the flashback.
Yeah, yeah. So
He's
basically,
a
this is,
jerk.
in case you didn't get it, those who are listening, comedian's not a great person, and that's what we're trying to say. Okay. So while all those flashbacks are going on, you have Dan, Night Owl, and Silk Spectre kind of start to begin a sort of relationship when they're starting to fight crime. They go into once again, they've been forbidden to do vigilante justice, and so they're walking home through a dark alley, which again, why walk through dark alleys? That's never walk through a dark
You're just asking for it at that point.
Yeah, and previously up to this point, she had been dating Dr. Manhattan.
Yes.
That's Rorschach meets up with them, and they're like, "Oh, I'm dating you," but then she gets mad at Dr. Manhattan. So, and then goes out with Night Owl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, I think it seems like Manhattan was cold and kind of distant and kind of...
Yeah. Once we finish up with the synopsis, we'll go, I think, more detailed into the characters.
Yeah,
At least
that would be...
We'll try to, because you already got comedian. Basically.
Yeah, well, we've done pretty good there. We'll have to make sure to tick that one off the old to discuss list. Yeah, okay. So...
Dark Alleyway.
Yes, Dark Alleyway, where all good stories pick up. So the Dark Alleyway, they go and they beat up really pretty good. They beat up some thugs in there that tried to attack them for going into said dark alley, which once again is never a good idea. While Dr. Manhattan is giving kind of a speech in front of a little televised broadcast,
Yes.
at the end of which someone accuses him basically of causing those around him, because of his superpowers and his I don't want to say radiation ability, but his abilities to kind of transform matter and things, actually causing people around him to have develop cancer. So Dr. Manhattan chooses to, after he basically leaves Earth and just disappears, just straight up teleports, which I think beats flying.
Yes.
If under the right conditions. And all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, so the most powerful person in the world is gone. Huh. How about that? And so that means that there's now a new power struggle, because Dr. Manhattan worked for the United States. Like he like we mentioned before briefly, he was in Vietnam. And this is an alternate history thing where, we use Dr. Manhattan and some of the others to fight.
And this is all setting during, I don't know if we mentioned it's set during the Cold War, so...
No, I don't believe we did.
No, because it's also an alternate
Cold War.
Yeah, which could be slightly late.
It's basically...
80s Cold War, but more violently cold than our Cold War.
We just kind of had the chilly war. They have
by
the
comparison.
frigid war.
The threat of nuclear mutually assured destruction lasted into much longer in this one. What with the whole super beings.
Yeah, but Dr. Manhattan basically being on the government's lapdog type thing kind of helped America be like, oh, okay, well we have that guy and he can do anything. So why would the Russians bomb us?
Exactly, keep those damn Ruskies at bay. You're gonna say that a lot. I mean, you kind of do now a little bit, but not quite the same.
As someone who doesn't read comics, would like to apologize to all the damn Ruskies.
No, oh, really? That needs an apology? All right.
It really doesn't.
Oh, all right. Better dead than red. Okay, here we go. So at the end of the chapter, basically there's the threat of mutually assured destruction comes up again because the Russians start to kind of move into Afghanistan with some of their tanks, kind of poking and testing America and what they're going to do now that that Dr. Manhattan is left. There's a great line that described, was it God is among us and he's an American or something?
Yeah, I think it was that.
I think that was that. I think that's what it was. I love that line. Thought I wrote it down. I'm not sure. Okay. So, the next issue kind of picks up. We've got Dr. Manhattan is gone. So we get a scene of him where he's now kind of pondering everything. He's sitting on Mars, actually. We get a bunch of, I want to say flashbacks, but as we discover in this chapter, he kind of views all time as happening at the same time. Everything at once. Which
you kind of get when he's interacting with Laurie, because Silk Spectre. Cause he literally anytime anything happens, he's like, well, this happens, you're gonna argue with me, and then you're gonna walk out, you're gonna go on a date with Night Owl, you're gonna do, he lists off everything that's gonna happen, but he almost doesn't say it like it's going to happen, he says, you do this happens, it's as if it's present, which is cool.
Yeah, he sees it as it's happening, which is, it's neat. I like the whole take on time with Dr. Manhattan is really cool. But we get his backstory about how he was a watchmaker, kind of he worked, is it his father, I think? It was, his father, in his father's shop where he was making watches and putting the pieces together and this and that. So he had that as skill as his background. And then he gets hired to do science, which I know they explain more specifically what it is, but he meets a girl, I didn't write her name down. What was her name? Which...
Such a pretty name.
We will, I'm gonna say something later when I find it. And just, somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading while I talk. And...
You talk
basically, alright, okay, well, that would work better. Janie, I think. I'll leave that to you. And while he's there, doing, they're both researchers at the same place, he leaves his lab coat in a test chamber, which gets sealed behind him, and because of the time locks and things like that, he can't get out, and no one is able, as a failsafe, to open the door, because they're working with particle physics of some sort, particle cannons, or basically science. Science goes awry, and he basically gets disintegrated.
Janie Slater is the name of the female.
Yes.
There it goes.
Her name is Janie.
Janie. That would not stick in my brain. I'm gonna forget it again.
Jane with a Y at the end.
Right? Does she need that?
I don't.
Did her parents think that was necessary? That they were Jane?
I mean, it might be different. They just introduced her. It's here's Janie Slater. I don't know.
Well,
who knows?
I don't know. But anyway, okay, so Janie, actually, he has her watch that he was fixing in his pocket with him, before he, yep. But,
yeah, he dropped that in the,
in the chamber. It was in his jacket pocket, which he went back to get. And then there's a couple weeks later, he actually there's like these weird, mysterious circumstances around the lab where his coworkers see like just a floating brain and nervous system, and like there's wailing, half-formed man wandering around the grounds. He actually then comes back as Dr. Manhattan. He put himself together, which I thought was a kind of cool, like he put watches back together. They kept the comparison there, where he put himself together piece by piece until he was able to reform himself once more. But of course this led to him having not only the superpowers, but also viewing time as all happening at once. So, we got Dr. Manhattan's origin, and then that issue ends with basically this cool Martian palace thing he builds out of it, which I don't... It's just kind of cool.
Makes a thing of Mars.
I will mention that in art.
Yes.
So, the last part I'm going to discuss before we get to spoilers...
well, art.
Oh, art... Well, I meant plot. I meant plot-wise.
Plot-wise.
Plot-wise, before we get to spoilers. Is the next issue opens... There's an assassination attempt on Adrian Veidt, which kind of lends credence to the idea that someone is targeting these former heroes, and that Rorschach might be onto something, despite most of the others thinking that he's insane. So Rorschach, being Rorschach and doing his own investigation, goes and confronts one of their ex-villains named Moloch. Moloch.
I always took it Moloch.
Moloch.
Moloch. M-O-L-C-H. Yep.
M-O-L-O-C. Yeah. I guess this was Loch was in there. I was like, Loch Ness. Moloch. Anyway. And basically interrogates him because of his connections to the comedian. And during the interrogation, he shoves him in the fridge, which I thought was an interesting method of like trying to get answers out of him.
Cool your jets, man.
He makes a pun like that,
yeah,
but
I think so, yeah.
much more dark and violent because,
That's
again,
Rorschach.
not a good comic for children. But Moloch claims that he has nothing to do with any of this, either Dr. Manhattan's disappearance or the comedian's death. So Rorschach says that he's going to, that if he remembers anything or thinks of anything, he'll come back, and he'll be back later. When he does return later on, he finds that, despite getting contacted by Moloch to return, that Moloch is actually dead. And there are, not only that, police are pulling up out front and saying they have the building surrounded. So Rorschach has been framed for the murder of Moloch. So there's this really awesome scene of Rorschach trying to break out and doing some... Once again, he doesn't have any super strength or anything, so it's just one guy in a cool outfit.
For some odd reason, doesn't carry guns.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because he's not against using them. It's not like Batman. He just doesn't have one.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, he doesn't carry guns. He just violently uses anything else around, including the aforementioned refrigerator. And basically Rorschach, despite being, good at what he does, is no match for dozens of police officers and is captured. And that's about as... I'm going to be vague about that. I was going to say something. So, at that point, you got Dr. Manhattan is on Mars and out of the picture. The comedian is dead. Rorschach is being taken away to prison. What will happen next? Oh,
find out next time.
Same
Actually,
bat time,
no.
same bat channel.
Actually, you're gonna find out.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
really
spoiler
really
section.
soon. I mean, yeah, but
Let us talk about the art first.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I think there's some story stuff that I want, because I want to maybe delve deep into some of the characters, and I want to mention there's a lot of symbolism, I feel like, in this comic book that
Yes.
really flies over my head, but it's there and you realize that it's there. I don't know, maybe if I was an English teacher I'd be a bit better at it. But the comedian dies in the beginning, and the first image you see is comedian had a pin on his costume, and it was a smiley face, just yellow pin, smiley face. And then a blood stain gets on it. It's just one blood stain on the splatter.
Always low prices.
But,
at any cost.
Basically, that symbol, that yellow with the red splatter pops up constantly everywhere. Like when comedian in the past beats up somebody else, a red splatter gets on his costume. There's red it's everywhere. Which is, it's symbolism for something. Also, at the end of each chapter, each book, there's a clock that constantly gets closer and closer to noon. I
Midnight?
assume,
Oh,
midnight.
It's yeah, that's the.
Noon, midnight, they're the same thing unless you're not going by, military clocks or something like that.
They are, but if you're looking for
Yeah,
the
it's
symbolism,
midnight, yes.
it's
The symbolism is midnight. I couldn't think of it. I was like 12? Whatever.
Although, it's a lot
That
less
one's-
througning if you
yeah.
think of it as, it's almost lunchtime.
Uh-oh, the nuclear clock's getting closer to tea time.
Although nothing happened at everything bad goes down at high noon.
Oh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Although it's a different story.
Oh,
So,
maybe Becca was right. Maybe it is.
That would
who
probably be a
knows?
better story.
Well, that one's kind of simple to see 'cause it's just a countdown to nuclear and bad things, basically. I'm trying to think of what else was other symbolism. The pirate story?
I completely.
yeah, you missed the pirate story.
Well, because that wasn't
and
relevant to the main
It's
plot.
it's not real. It's not the main plot, but
Wait till we get to later.
yeah, no, Brian's mad. But there's a newsstand and the guy's handing out news or whatever, doing newsstand stuff. And he has a kid next to him that's reading comic, and the comic's about a pirate. The story's ridiculous, and I assume that it has a lot to do with the story within Watchmen. Personally, I didn't think that far ahead or into it. It's a very graphic, disgusting story. So really, I didn't do it. But I did like I like the newsstand and the kid. It's cool. It's a cool storyline. Yeah.
Other things that you guys are missing, at the end of each book is a little extra blurb,
Right.
depending on what's going on in the book.
Yeah.
Like, for example, at the end of the chapter with Dr. Manhattan, there's a write-up on Dr. Manhattan. Or at the end
Or
of
like
Silk Spectre's thing, I think there's like an article from like a paper from that era with the story about Silk Spectre. And
Yeah, they have a lot of, like I was saying, that was one of the things, the write-up had, an ad for the Ozymandias toys.
Yeah.
And all the superhero toys. And they're really cool, they're interesting to go into, because it gives a lot of background to the story, but it's not, personally, I wouldn't say it's needed. It's just kinda cool to go back to. I don't know, I think it's cool. But, yeah, if we wanted to go into the characters more,
Well, we did comedian.
Rorschach's the main, technically, I guess the protagonist, you'd call him. Which is weird, kind of, because he's narrating most of the story. Yeah, I know, you don't think about it because Night Owl's the good guy, almost, of the story. Like, he is the token, like, he is...
But without Rorschach, you have no plot.
But yeah, Rorschach's the protagonist, and you get the narrative through him, writing his journal. Because he has a journal that he writes. And yeah, Rorschach just is apparently a very scummy guy in general. Apparently smells. Everybody keeps mentioning. Literally, when he goes in a Night Owl's house, he breaks in and then just eats beans. And it's almost disgusting. Yeah, like, it's pretty bad. But I mean, like, even his interrogations, like, he goes into a bar, and I mean, people are afraid of him because he's walking in. And then, like, he continues to then interrogate a guy by breaking his fingers. Like, just backward, breaking each one finger as it goes. Yeah, so Rorschach's just he's like Batman, except more insane, I would say, is kind of almost my...
Poor, insane Batman,
that insane... Like, if Batman was Batman's obsessed with justice. He was slightly more black and white about it, was willing to kill people, because the town was horrific, and was poor, and probably lived on the street, maybe. That would be Rorschach.
Sorry,
basically.
I liked all the
welfare
different...
Batman.
There you go. Violent, psychopathic welfare Batman.
Yes.
I like it.
If that's not a DC title, it should be.
Copyright. Although not as, I don't know, it doesn't have this intelligence, whatever.
Maybe it's Green Arrow?
Green Arrow's a billionaire.
Darn.
So many of them are rich.
I know.
The money.
That's where you get superpowers.
The people
money.
who don't have superpowers have money. Oh, God, Night Owl. Like I said, Night Owl's kind of the token good guy. He's just overall nice guy. He visits the Night Owl that used to be back in the day, because he took over the mantle. Yet again, just uses gadgets. He's just basically a good guy. There's no real storyline behind him. He used to team up with Rorschach. That's about it. Silk Spectre's a cool chick, yet again. token good girl thing, except her interactions with Dr. Manhattan are kind of cool, but past that. Personally, my favorite is Dr. Manhattan, who is awesome.
He is pretty awesome, yeah.
Cause he's so, to me, cause like they mentioned, he gets blown apart by all his atoms and then he reconstructs himself, so he has the ability to reconstruct everything else and do the same thing over again. And it's just, and his ability, like his omnipotence, almost, in knowing everything, but not, it's cool. I like it a lot. I like Dr. Manhattan. He's cool. Comedian's jerk. I think that was about it.
Yeah, kinda.
This is the story. There's the thing. Oh, and Ozymandias. There we go.
Oh,
he's
there we
smart,
go.
but we can't give you much
Yeah,
more than smart.
that's literally
That's his main trait.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause the story...
And a toy line.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another great
He's
thing.
a very... Yeah, I was gonna say, he took his life after superheroing and made a very good business for himself. He's living well. Like, everybody else is kind of like, oh, well, I worked full-time somewhere, like, burp, burp, burp. Other than Dr. Manhattan, because he's a super being and doesn't need jobs, but he works for the government. So, he made something for himself. So, Ozymandias, he doesn't, like Paul was saying, he doesn't appear much in this, except that Rorschach comes in and goes like, there's people trying to kill people, and he's like, well, that's fun. See you later, Rorschach.
Yeah, you're still crazy and kind of smelly.
You're still a crazy person.
You could have just used the door.
Also, that scene was weird, because, like, this doesn't spoil anything. Later on, you learn that where Ozymandias' platform, where his office is a tall building. Rorschach jumps out the window. How does it... I assume he has a grappling hook, but he just kind of jumps.
It's actually established that he has a grappling hook because he shoots somebody in the eye.
Well, he shoots it up to... he shoots it up to get to Comedian's place, but...
Yeah.
Rorschach's so weird, he just gets stuff out of nowhere. Like, in Moloch's house, he has absolutely nothing, and he uses, like, cooking spray and fire to make stuff. But then, for some odd reason, he has a grappling hook at one point.
Well, that's because Night Owl made it for him.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, true.
Yeah. Night Owl made
Here's
him
your
the
super
grappling
weapon. A grappling hook. Comedian gets guns, but you get a grappling hook.
Though, alright, you know what? I just...
Good luck using that.
As we've been talking about this more, I realize if I were the rest of them, I wouldn't want Rorschach having guns either.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
true.
so I'm just thinking about the more that's, well, this guy's a nut. Why doesn't he have guns? Why didn't anyone give him a gun? Well, I would not give him a gun, so...
Rorschach's journal. No one would let me play with firearms today. They gave me a sissy grappling hook. I'll show them. I'll show them all.
That's basically how he narrates the story, which is...
Yeah,
well,
also
other
fun.
than he doesn't normally, like, I'll show them, like, no, he's...
Well, yeah, obviously he's not quite as vindictive, but that...
But I mean, one of the more famous lines is lines in the the literal beginning. Let me read it. Yeah, like, I mean, literally, the first one, Rorschach's journal, October 12th, 1985, sets your time. Dog carcass in the alley this morning. Tired tread on burst stomach. The city is afraid of me. I have seen its true face. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood, and when the drains finally scab over, all the vermins will drown. The accumulated filth with all their sex and murder will foam up about their waists, and all their whores and politicians will look up at me and shout, "Save us!" And I'll whisper down, "No." Like, that's literally, those are, like, that is the accumulation of what Rorschach writes and the things that he thinks and how he writes it.
I should have read that in the Rorschach voice. It would have been funny.
Yeah, no. You should have read it, because apparently I'm terrible at reading.
Well, apparently you forgot that Night Owl gave Rorschach a grappling hook.
Yeah, I know, it did.
Oh.
Basically, Rorschach, that's the way that he narrates everything, is that describes quite literally how he narrates the whole thing, and he's narrating everything, like, the whole book, so that's, well, you get to a point and he doesn't have his journal, which is I kind of like, the fact that it doesn't, he goes in jail, they take away his journal, so he stops narrating. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you get that narration for the first half. That's all I have to say about the story. That's all I got.
Yeah. I think we covered basically everyone there and the characters.
No, I think we missed the street vendor.
No, I said the newsstand guy and the kid.
Yeah, but you're not giving him nearly as much time as the book did.
The book didn't give him nearly that much time. Like, literally...
He yells about the Russians.
Yeah, I know,
the
like,
kid
literally,
reads a comic.
That's most of it. Like, literally, it's
He's
mostly...
on more pages than most of the characters.
No, you are exaggerating. Holy. A lot. Like, Jesus, you're exaggerating. Like, maybe
We'll go back and look at that
maybe he
one
has
later.
more time than Captain Metropolis or whatever. Captain Metropolis is actually his name. I just said whatever. Captain Metropolis is his name. He was the part of the old Minutemen, which were the old costume or crime busters, I guess, when Night Owl and those guys were trying to get together.
All right, I guess
he has
we
more
can get
time
to
than
art
that
then.
guy. But literally
More time than Osmondeus.
No, Asmondeus for the first half, yeah, but
Everyone we mentioned plays a role. We mentioned the people.
oh man, 2 pages, and I've made it about 30 pages in.
I like
riveting. A third page.
I like that you're sitting here doing this like just to prove him wrong, and I feel as though we could just
We're wasting time, but yeah.
So art.
Oh,
No.
story.
We didn't say right the name.
Yeah, I was gonna say
We didn't
the name of the person who wrote this book is Alan Moore, who is a fairly popular writer. Yep. So Alan Moore's the writer, and then our artists. Funny enough, the lines and effort. Basically anything but the color was done by Dave Gibbons, and the color was done by John Higgins, which I thought was funny. It rhymes. But yeah, no,
I don't think they appreciate that.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just more symbolism.
I don't know. Dave Gibbons gets main front page set, but John Higgins, you gotta go into the second page of the book to get his name. I just thought it was funny that they rhyme. I liked it.
But a shout out to him because the colors are very nice.
Yeah, they are. I like them. They're nice.
Indeed, I like the colors better than the lines.
It's very nice. It's the symbolism of your, I don't know, art as a section.
It does, and it's now.
Yes. Actually, the art in here, it's good. It's not, I'm gonna say unremarkable, but in the sense that there's not too many remarks I can make about it. The blood in it is a little more goopy and showy than some other comics. It's definitely, they have a lot more in it in the first part than most books. But, I mean, past that, yet again, the symbolism in the art pops up again, because obviously it's the art that has the splash marks. Some of the expressions are good, especially with, I mean, I'm gonna say later on, some of the characters get more expressive. And obviously there are a lot of terrible things happening and a lot of anguished faces and a lot of, there's a couple good expressions, and I like most of them are pretty good. Maybe that.
I will say that the one thing that this art style does well, and really well, is gross.
Yes. Which,
like
there's a lot
the one thing that sticks out in my mind is probably the grossest scene of the entire book, for whatever reason, is a picture of Rorschach eating cold beans out of a can.
Oh yeah, I know. Out of everything
with his
that
mask
happens,
just kind of like half up, and he's like spooning out beans, and he's like all grisly.
it makes
looking.
it look
so
terrible.
His teeth are yellow. It's awful.
Like you
It
really,
is disgusting.
which is yet again shows off the wow, you really don't want to be with this guy right now. Because I mean, even like he only lifts up his mask, but he's still got like stuff. You can tell he's unshaven. He's not washed because his mask has got like splots on it,
Stains.
and like you can.
Well, the splotches on the mask are on purpose.
Well, not the black ones. I meant like stains, but like you get from the art even that Rorschach is a disgusting person to be in the room with.
Yes.
Especially that bean scene, like Jesus, it is so disgusting.
It's
I will
really
agree.
Gross. There's more grotesque pictures in the book, but that is probably the grossest picture in the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my 2 cents on the thing. I enjoyed, like, again, the art is very gritty, which again, for the tone of the book, more than perfectly fits.
Yeah. I like how it's gritty because like you can say that the Batman was gritty if you read Batman with us, but it's still colorful. It's not dark and gritty. It's just gritty, which is nice because it's still got the colors to it. It's not completely depleted.
Batman was dark and smooth. This is bright and gritty.
Yeah, but both have that same kind of just darker side of things.
Well, I mean, the town and some of the stuff that's happening It gives you the same feeling as Gotham does when you get to the nitty gritty of Gotham, where like the crime's bad and bad stuff happens,
Grimy
and
Yeah.
all that jazz.
Yeah, and I think it reminds me almost, color-wise, it reminds me of a very muted Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
In the way that probably.
Yeah, the style.
Yeah, it's very. I guess when was Infinity Gauntlet? Was that was 80s, right? I believe we said.
Do I forget?
I don't know.
We don't look this stuff up.
I should have done. I know this.
Listen to our podcast.
I listened.
I think that was.
But amusingly, but like it's got that. It definitely has that same kind of feel to it. But again, not as there's no one in bright orange pants.
Yes.
Except. No,
some of the
red pants. They're red pants, which is still a better fashion statement than bright orange pants.
I mean, there's a bright yellow skirt.
Some of the costumes are bright and colorful, but that's because they were superhero. Like it's still kind of the whole book obviously is still making a slight parody on superheroes. So obviously some of the costumes are bright and colorful, but past that, it's just everything else is pretty.
It's almost
normal.
Some might say a deconstruction, right, of the genre. There you go. Boom, right?
Getting too sophisticated here.
I know. I'm dropping sophistic bombs.
That word had too many syllables.
I was trying to do sophistication bombs, but if I cut it off anywhere, the word sophisticated sounds weird or dirty, which is amusing.
Yes.
So I'll just leave it as
Sophistication.
and I'll say it with.
I'm gonna say, other than sophisticated bombs, Dave Gibbons,
Yes.
the guy who did the illustrations, also did the text, and the text is great. I actually do like it because there's Rorschach's journals, which they look almost like ripped out pieces of paper. Cool. Regular words. Rorschach talking, which has it has a ragged edge, and his words are different text to show that he's ragged. And then Dr. Manhattan has his own text bubbles where they're blue, so you kind of get this feeling of like him being very different. So I like how the text adds in.
And
with
then the pirate.
And then the pirate story, because the pirate story sometimes the writing of the story continues even though you're looking at the newsstand and the guy.
Yes.
So you do get a chance. It's like on a scroll. You still get a chance to see that differently, which is cool. I like it all. It
Also worth mentioning, even through all of those changes and weirdness, everything's still really legible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you never get confused as to, like, we were saying about the pirate thing kind of bleeding over into the street vendor artwork sometimes. You never are confused. I mean, I guess the language and what they're talking about, but yeah, you never, by looking at it, would confuse that text as being what the people on the street are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, bubbles aren't in weird orders where you're reading stuff out of order. Everything's arranged in a nice, neat, coherent way for you to be able to get through this book.
Yeah. And even Rorschach's text being a shaky text doesn't come off as hard to read. It's still easy to, even though it's a different text and it's supposed to come off shaky, it's not hard to read, which is impressive.
Yeah, it's much less offensive than Comic Sans.
Definitely.
Most things are.
But yeah,
The
those...
comedian's not.
Oof.
He's pretty offensive.
He's the Comic Sans of superheroes in this book.
Well, I don't know if you want to drag Comic Sans down that bad.
Herm.
Comic Sans
He does-
assaulted
yeah,
by
Rorschach
we didn't mention that.
constantly
Yes.
Herms.
Rorschach and his Herms. Herm.
So it's not just or what? Herm.
Yeah, isn't it?
H-U-R-M. Herm. It's just funny. Yeah.
It's fun to say.
It's fun to say. I love Dr. Manhattan. I don't know why I'm mentioning this now, but when Rorschach goes to Dr. Manhattan and the Silk Spectre.
Laurie?
Yeah, Laurie. So basically, first off, he breaks into a government building, which is awesome. But then secondly, basically, Rorschach's offensive and a jerk and a butthole still. Not as much as the comedian. He's still a jerk. And Laurie gets mad at him and goes, "No, I want him out of here." So then Dr. Manhattan is just like, "Hey, made Laurie mad, see you later," and snaps his finger, and Rorschach's like, "No, I'm not leaving until," and then snaps outside till I get my word, and he's like, "Well, that sucks." I was like, it was hilarious. I like that scene.
Yeah.
It's good.
There's a lot of good scenes. I didn't want I don't want to spoil a lot of it. That's the thing. A lot of it is really good.
Well, it's a good thing that we're getting close.
I know. A lot of my favorite stuff though happens in Dr. Manhattan's like flashback. I do like his father and him made watches, and then the atomic bomb was dropped, and basically he was like, why are people gonna have to keep time when Einstein says the time's relative, and throws watches out the door and says, nope, we're scientists now. And I was like, that's great. Like, I wish the rest of the world was like, this is outdated, we're going to science. Like, that would be great. The world would be a better place.
The battle cry
or
of
a worse
science.
place, apparently.
Yeah.
And yet again, more symbolism for Dr. Manhattan, who doesn't see time as anything. Clocks all over the place. So yeah, symbolism. Things I didn't catch up on the first time reading through the book.
A lot of good things.
But yeah, no, those are like my favorite. Yep. These are the things that I discuss before spoilers.
Okay.
Spoilers.
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 Spoilers?
Spoilers.
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 The aliens are weak to water.
Spoilers.
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 Herm.
Herm.
It's a fun sound now. I'm going to keep doing that. Herm. But not into the mic constantly, because that would probably annoy
No
me.
more uhs on this
Yeah, from now on,
podcast.
only herm.
Now
Only
it's herms. No, so this story
You already
I was
by the-
gonna say, this story takes it goes nowhere. Speaking of which, until Paul mentioned that it was a murder mystery, the two Vertigo books that we have read are murder mysteries. I realized Vertigo has a murder mystery, like, shot. But, so basically the story continues. Lori and Night Owl hook up. That happens. Apparently after they hook up, Night Owl's like, well, we should go break Rorschach out of place. Rorschach's in prison. He tells his story, which is extremely dark. Yet again, we'll get into it after I get a quick synopsis of everything done. Rorschach's basically messed up. He's very messed up.
Super messed up.
Super messed up.
You're not even
Really?
scratching the surface
Like,
there.
wow. So, they then go to save Rorschach. Rorschach gets himself out of jail. Quite successfully. In quite a crazy way. Yet again, it showcases his ability to not have superpowers, super thinking, or anything else, but just the, whatever's laying around. They get back. Then Dr. Manhattan appears and goes, Lori, we go to Mars and we discuss why I should save humanity. We argue about it. In his way that he says things as if they are presently happening. Takes Lori, they go to Mars. Which is hilarious because then he forgets that she needs air. And then remembers that she needs air. Thankfully. Rorschach and Night Owl follow some leads. And eventually figure out the deep dark secret. They go to Ozymandias' house at his, study. Which also, for the smartest man in the world, he literally has his password, like, sitting on his desk. I don't know why it was really silly. But, I guess he wanted them to get in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
They go to the Antarctic. They meet Ozymandias. While Lori and Dr. Manhattan are arguing about whether Dr. Manhattan should save the world. And Ozymandias reveals his plan, and as the smartest man in the world, has already committed the plan and the atrocity, after he tells them. And basically what he does is he teleports a genetically modified squid alien thing into New York, killing millions, framing it on aliens, so that the world then has peace, because everybody has a unified person to fight against.
So then aliens are weak to teleportation?
Nope. I don't know. But, also, I don't know why this needed to be added to the plan, but the monster had psychic abilities too, so it shot grotesque memories and, like, it shot, like, everybody's, like, now depressed and stuff, which is weird. I didn't think you needed that. I think you could've just killed millions. But, basically, that happens, and his master plan is, well, if you tell everybody those millions died for no reason, and Dr. Manhattan agrees with him. And that's basically the end. Rorschach refuses with his black and white, way of seeing the world and says justice is justice. Those people died. They need to, he needs to go to jail for it. And Dr. Manhattan blows him up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that's basically what happens after that point, which it's basically a roller coaster after Rorschach gets jailed and out of jail.
Yeah, things go nuts.
Yeah,
because one thing that happens, they start really saying in the second half of the book, is that the squid monster thing was made by a bunch of kidnapped writers and artists.
Oh, I love that, because it was just, this storyline started appearing in the book. Like, it was just like, what are you drawing? I'm drawing the squid monster. I love you. That's great. And then, like, it stops and you're like, this is weird. And then it connects, but it was cool that it was randomly added. But yeah, Ozymandias paid for all the stuff to be made and then killed everybody subsequently for everything.
Which is always the thing where it's like, don't work for the rich villainy people. Cause
yeah, I don't get under what pretense did you think, can you make a genetically modified psychic being that will then explode and also shoot negative thoughts into people's brains? Like, why did you think this was a good idea? Like, who was like, I want to save the world with this? Like, no, how did you convince them?
Entry-level scientists.
I guess. There's like so many like spoiler things all over the place. Like
all over the place.
Like that Laurie is probably like the comedian's daughter after
I think they mentioned that she is certain. Like, I don't think she's certain, but I think Dr. Manhattan's like, no, you.
Yeah, you're. Yeah. Yeah. And the whole thing with and what makes the ending so great is like after everyone kind of agrees, yeah, I guess we can't tell anyone, and Rorschach says no, storms off. Dr. Manhattan goes, nah, buddy, you can't tell everyone this, and blows Rorschach up. He then goes back inside to talk to Ozymandias, who basically said, Dr. Manhattan, isn't this great? I've now, I've ended everything. This is going to be wonderful. And then Dr. Manhattan just goes, yeah, nothing really ends, and then just walks away.
Basically, I'm out of 2000. Whoop, and then he says he's going to go to another galaxy. He's like, this one's too complicated. See you later.
Maybe I'll create life. Maybe I'll create sand. I don't know.
Because like Ozymandias is like, I'm right? Like I'm good in the end. I'm right, and like there's no end, and then out of existence.
Yeah, which I think is great, because then nobody wins, and it's wonderful. I like that kind of just dark end of just, whoa.
But no, like, right after, when Rorschach goes into jail and a psychologist starts helping him, because obviously he's crazy. And you get the background on Rorschach, and, oh my gosh.
It's so good!
Oh my god. Because first off, it's hilarious, because the guy is showing him Rorschach tests. Which I don't know why.
I don't know why you would do that to start. I feel like that's kind of like mocking them.
Well, that's how you psychology.
Apparently. I'm not a psychologist, so I wouldn't know. But
I am. No, I'm not. But if I was, my opinion would have so much more weight.
You can get that diploma in like a laundry bag, like a vending machine.
Hold on. What do you
where you going with that one?
What do you find in laundry baskets that like what laundry basket are you looking for these?
Psychology diplomas?
No. But are you robbing people? Like, is this like, are you going to like colleges and like?
No, they just give those out, right?
I always forget my diploma in my jeans.
Oh shoot!
Washed it again.
I guess I'll have to get a new one.
Now it's pink.
$3.50.
I don't like.
No one will ever take me serious. A pink diploma.
But no,
right, Mom, wash it with those pants.
Rorschach starts talking with this psychologist. First off, the psychologist initially doesn't break through to Rorschach, and he's just lying to him. And the psychologist is being immediately shaken up by Rorschach, 'cause apparently he just stares straight ahead and doesn't say anything for long spurts of time. Which is great.
Something that a crazy person would do, and you should be used to this by now.
You learn that Rorschach's mom got paid for sex, beat him, and told him constantly that he was not worth it or to be living. He got beat up by kids, and just basically, at a young age, just broke and started beating the crap out of kids. From there on, his life does not continue getting any better. There's a brief, he used to be in, he got jobs and lived life as best he could, until he found this fabric that made Rorschach basically blot tests. He took it home and made his mask and started fighting crime. literally, he starts out doing well, and he's, like, I didn't kill anybody, I didn't think they were worth it, and, then he eventually breaks one of these cases. A small child, a girl, was kidnapped. I think she was like 8 or something like that. She was young, was the point. She gets kidnapped, so he's looking on the case, and he finds this house, and basically he finds all the clues to find that the girl was chopped up and fed to dogs, and, like, possibly eaten or whatever else, and the rest burned. So he basically, again...
I think with, like, the underwear hanging, like, on the wall.
Yeah, it was an incinerator. I think it was inside of...
It's the way that I was gonna say, it was in an incinerator. The way that, because at first he goes in and he's like, I'll go in the back, and then he's like, no, there's 2 dogs fighting over a bone. No deal, I'll go in the front. He goes in the front and he looks around, and I mean, this whole part, no text after he goes in the front, because he goes in the front, he takes out the door, he looks in the fireplace, there's a girl's dress, like basically a piece of dress, whatever. He wanders around more, he finds, tools and implements that are, like knives and things that you wouldn't generally find in a person's house. Finds a cutting board with a bunch of cuts on it, and then looks out again and realizes that the bone that the dogs are fighting over are, a small femur, basically. He chops the heads of the dogs open, and then when the guy returns, he throws the dogs at the guy,
through the window.
Through the window.
Pretty awesome.
And then, and then without, like, saying anything to this guy, it's not like, you failed the city or whatever. He, handcuffs the guy to the incinerator, gives him a saw, says, that saw's not gonna cut through the chain in time, you're gonna have to cut your arm. Well, he doesn't even tell me at the cut his arm. He's like, it's not gonna cut through the chain in time, soaks him in gasoline, and then starts the fire. So basically the guy was supposed to cut his arm off. And then basically this is the point where Rorschach breaks, and that's literally his style of fighting, and he's a crazy person, is the end. But then, now he's instilled, you see the psychologist go home, and his life is breaking apart because he now he realizes all the stuff that this guy went through and all the stuff that he's doing, and he's telling, he tells him, how can you be a psychologist? You don't know pain, he basically psychologizes him. So it was a really cool, I love that going back and forth of how he basically made the psychologist rethink his life, which was ridiculous. It was great. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that.
Yep. Also, the psychologist's wife, a jerk.
I think
I
wouldn't go that far. I just think that there was, but yeah. So, one last thing about Rorschach, since we're on the little Rorschach tear here, is that he identifies himself now as Rorschach, and when he's not wearing the mask is his face, and he gets really upset when he's arrested and everything that they take his mask off because they're basically taking away his identity. He says, Walter is dead. The Rorschach is him. That is who he is.
Yeah, him without the mask is his disguise.
Yeah. So it's great. And then, I mean, Rorschach's stay in prison is pretty ridiculous, and his get out of prison, cause obviously the prison, he's put people in prison. He hasn't killed everybody, but he's put people in prison. They're all angry at him. He deep fries some guy's face, which was great. He then, this one big hotshot comes up and says, we're gonna have a breakout and I'm gonna kill you. And then basically throughout the breakout, one guy starts to grab him, he ties the hands together, so they kill him because they're just like, nope, there's no time. They kill that guy, so he's got 3 guys, he's got 1 down. The other guy comes in with a blowtorch and blowtorches the lock, comes in, and Rorschach literally gets up on his bed and knocks, the sink out and electrocutes that guy. And the big boss is left, and they don't show what he does, but you assume that he drowned them in the toilet. While Night Owl and Silk Spectre come get. Yep.
Yeah, and I like the conversation that they have.
I
while
love the conversation
because
the mob boss is this short guy, so he's.
No, not that one. I mean, the mob boss runs into the bathroom. Silk Spectre and Night Owl find Rorschach during the breakout, and he's like, "Hold on, I gotta go use the bathroom." And Night Owl and Silk Spectre stand there and go, "We're breaking him out. Why is he using the bathroom? What's going on here?" While he's murdering a man in the bathroom.
I love the mob boss guy was short, and so every word he said, he was just like, Rorschach would be like, tall order. Like, it was just like big words for a small. I was like, oh my god, he was just great because he was just constantly, and like the one guy that he tied the hands up, like he got his hands through the bars because he said fat chance. He was a fat guy. Like it was just like he was just making fun of and taunting the guys. It was just hilarious. But yep, puns.
Yeah, so many good things. Trying to think of what else we haven't hit that really needs to.
Because Dr. Manhattan's stay on Mars with Laurie is just a huge, just a talk about why humans are not great. And then he discovers that humans are great. Done. Isn't that great?
Yeah. I mean, it's done in a really well.
It's well written. There's just a lot of them talking back and forth about people are great. No, they're not. Mars is better, which is arguably true.
Yeah. Yeah. Haven't been there myself to let you know, but you know. I guess then the only other thing.
Oh, dude, I love Night Owl. He's Batman, so he's got all the gadgets. So they fly to the Antarctic, and he's got this owl suit for cold winters, and it's freaking like. He looks like a giant white owl. It's so cute. It's just this puffy costume. And it's just, it all closes at the front. And then he's got like these, like, he's got freaking, what are they called? Segways. He's got like freaking
yeah.
They're segways, is basically. They're like the platform you stand on it and you float by. But he has segways. It's great.
Hover segways, which is pretty. Oh, God, how could I forget? Okay, hold on. Well, this is crucial. I made a note of this and I didn't actually mention it. So before they head off to, confront Ozymandias in the Antarctic, Rorschach goes, because of his diehard, political beliefs, and that there is right, there is wrong, and Rorschach is very, I want to say conservative. Yeah, that's the right one. Yeah. Very conservative. So he's got this. There's a small paper that he frequented and would purchase all the time, and so before they took off, he dropped off his journal with all the information, everything you've been reading, basically throughout the comic, into the mail slot where they take not requests, but like information and scoops,
like news stories, to the newspaper,
yeah. And so basically at the very end, after the things don't go well in the Antarctic,
everything happens.
A lot of people, Rorschach dies. Bubastis, the cool little.
Oh yeah, Ozymandias has a genetically modified lynx, which is this giant, like almost tiger-sized lynx. And it's awesome. It has these giant ears, and he kills it.
Yeah, he kills it to try and kill
Dr.
John.
Manhattan,
yeah, Dr. Manhattan. Which, I guess I should mention that too, real fast. The whole reason that Dr. Manhattan couldn't see was he sees all of time, at the same time. The reason he couldn't tell that Ozymandias was behind it was because there was a
neutrino,
or tachyon.
Tachyon interference. Sorry.
I want to say trachea, and I'm like, that's not it. That's
No.
not sciencey enough. Tachyons.
They did mention neutrinos because
Dr. Manhattan was doing neutrino research.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
he was doing neutrino research.
But it was the tachyons that I don't science a lot, but it deals with time particles.
Yeah,
and...
tachyons are a theoretical particle that do
Yeah.
things. Basically, it's theoretical and it has been theoretical, and it theoretically does things with time, which means sci-fi writers love it because it's nothing, but it's everything.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
now.
it's not nothing. It makes particle physics exist.
Yes,
But also, okay. Yeah. Again, we're dancing toward that time travel line again.
Well, what bothers me is that Dr. Manhattan mentions that he sees things that are afterwards, after the whole event of whatever happens.
Right.
Well, I mean, basically, Ozymandias pushes a button and shoots out tachyon. Like that was what I thought was.
But he sees after.
Yeah, but not directly.
But
yeah.
Okay, so it's like. There's. Did he say he said after?
Yeah, he mentioned. I forget what he mentioned afterwards. Like he wasn't going to stay or something like that. He was destined not to stay on Earth or something. Somewhere.
Right.
Somewhere.
But
I thought it blocked that hole.
It wasn't like a wall. It was like a hole in his sight.
I mean, I guess if you were like, oh man, that future looks really nice. Like.
And then when he got there, why didn't he just blow up the tachyon interference generators?
Well,
at that point,
he didn't need
matter.
to because he said. I'm Audi 5000.
Yeah.
And
well, no, before that, like when they got there And he goes, oh, tachyon interference. We're at Ozymandias' place. He's got to be behind this. There's 8 satellites up there and 4 tachyon generators.
Literally everything already happened.
Yeah, that was the whole point of it. They have this whole big fight scene with Ozymandias.
They get there, they fight him, and Ozymandias is like, this is what I'm doing. And they're like, no, we're going to stop you. And he's like, what do you think? I'm stupid? Like, no, I'm going to... I did it. I did it like 30 minutes ago.
Half an hour
for
ago.
that conversation.
No, literally, that's like Rorschach and
They
Night Owl
walk in
get
right
there.
after that.
Cause, what's his face, Dr. Manhattan's still on Mars doing, his conversation.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't see stuff right now, it's a little weird, I'm gonna teleport us to Earth. And he, I think he mentions that he almost, skips because, it doesn't get there at the right time because of the tachyon interference.
They explain it.
Literally.
Then why doesn't he immediately just go,
Oh my
all right,
gosh.
let's get rid of these now?
Because what would that matter?
It doesn't matter because he's leaving.
Like, oh man, that
bad thing
radio
happened,
jammer that's stopping me
But there
from
could
calling
be-
home and warning him about the bomb that already exploded.
But there could be more bad things that he doesn't see because of the tachyon interference.
But
he
he
doesn't
doesn't
care anymore.
He's leaving. He's
True.
like, this happened. He's like, well, that stinks. He's right, by the way. So, everybody listen to him. By the way, also, I'm leaving. You guys are too complicated. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. See you later.
Also, I get you're right, but this isn't you didn't solve anything. So, all right, then just drops mic.
I'm outie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I mean, for all you know, he destroyed it pretty much immediately after he got there. It's
He
just
came
he
in as a
doesn't.
giant hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Once again, I don't have a giant expensive lab, but I'm pretty sure giant blue hand through the glass poking at electronics and wires is going to do some damage to my science.
Yeah.
Just that's a
Yeah, I think at that point, Dr. Manhattan just didn't care. He was like, that's the bed.
Yeah, maybe.
but.
The real tragedy is the cat thing.
Oh, Bubastis.
Bubastis.
Yeah.
I love that
Couldn't
cat was
Dr.
so
Manhattan
good.
have seen Ozymandias making the tachyon generators?
If he was looking for it. He's aware of everything.
But,
no, you see, he's not omniscient. Let's try this again. He's not
omnipotent.
Yeah, he's not omnipotent. But he's not omniscient either. It's he can see everything that he was involved. That's why he doesn't see the extreme past. He sees what he was seeing.
He sees himself
in all time periods. It's like he's experiencing your experience. If you were him, you would be seeing this podcast now and participating in this podcast now.
Which is in the...
Okay, no.
For anyone
No. We're sticking to our point of view and reference. We are sticking to our point of reference. You would see this podcast now, the podcast last week, and the podcast next week all at the same time and be experiencing all of them, which is why he's emotionally dead.
So I'd be being yelled at 3 times as much?
Yes.
Well, I mean, infinitely times as much, mattering on how many podcasts we have. But
yes. In a short story, yeah. While also simultaneously experiencing your drive to work today, your drive from work today,
but you're not experiencing the guy in China, what's his face in China who's also driving to work, because that's not part of your timeline. You're not experiencing
You don't know what,
it.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's more of, he's got a fixed point of reference, but knows everything that's going to be happening, and that's why he's emotionally distant, and actually becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy with Laurie leaving him, because he sees everything.
Everything's happening all at once, so he can't stop it. That's like, JFK gets shot. And Laurie's like, why didn't you do anything? He's like, it happened.
I watched it.
He's like, I knew it happens, but it happened and I can't change it. It happened. Like, it's happening. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, I can't, sorry.
I'm done with this time argument.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good, because, I mean, I had a firm stance on a time argument for once, though.
Dr. Manhattan's such a cool character.
It's a great character. I like that. Anyway.
I also I'm never gonna know the cat's name. What's his name?
Bubastis?
Bubastis.
Yes.
I hope Bubastis somehow recollects himself and becomes a nervous system and then a skeleton and then a Dr. Manhattan cat. Can we do that? Can that happen?
Dr. Manhattan.
No.
Dr. Manhattan.
I'm gonna say it again. No.
Yes.
That'd
be brilliant.
Terrifying.
Links the time sweeper.
There's a lot.
Links to the past.
You can do so many.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop myself now before I start. Okay.
That was such a good. Okay.
So, yeah, glad we hit that. But basically, the reason that I brought this up before we got off into, discussing Dr. Manhattan and time physics tachyons was that Rorschach drops off his journal at the newspaper before he leaves.
The New Frontier, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then, yeah, basically you just get this stopped, like, oh, I have a journal. It says things, and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens after.
Well, yeah, because basically because of the whole world peace thing, the owner of the newspaper is like, well, my whole 2-page spread on politics is now, pointless, so...
I wish someone died.
Yeah, it's like, I wish something happened and that I could yell and rant about it from my political perspective. So there's like a assistant who basically is kind of, dopey and does not very good at his job. And he's like, Seymour is his name. It's like, basically, Seymour, I'd have nothing. You need to fill up these 2 pages. Get something out of the file that people drop off. It's entirely up to you. I'm out of here.
Nobody reads this paper anyway. The one guy who did died.
Well, no, that's but anyway,
It's a different paper.
So basically, the whole thing, the last panel is Seymour, who has ketchup on his smiley face shirt, thereby symbolically tying it to the beginning, reaching towards the pile of letters and papers, in which is the journal. So there's a chance that despite being vaporized, the truth could get out there.
Except for the fact that the truth isn't written in the journal because he stops right after they get to Ozymandias.
He writes in there, he says...
Ozymandias did something.
Yeah,
he's going to go find out.
He gets the journal and writes in it. Like, he writes in it the last couple things that happen. He journalizes him and Night Owl going to the thing. To Ozymandias' house.
Mm-hmm. And
or
what they
house,
learn there.
his office, sorry.
Yeah, his office. And then it's like, I'm done. Yeah.
Well,
He drops it off, yeah.
Like, it was like... He's like, oh, there's a password on his computer. He likes Egyptian stuff. Ramses. Wait, there's a book that says Ramses 2 inches away from the computer. Let me see if that's the password. Well, that's the password. I learned all of your secrets. Like, what? Like, I guess maybe that was part of his plan to have them learn so he could take them back and do the thing and they wouldn't research anymore, but it just blew my mind.
Speaking of which, for the smartest man in the world, couldn't your plan have just been just kill the comedian because he found out what was going on and then do everything? Why do you have to bother with everybody else?
I guess with everybody else, because, I guess being the smartest man in the world realized, because nothing else happened after he killed the comedian.
Well, he has somebody go to kill himself.
Yes,
which takes the blame off of him.
Yeah, it was actually, that was smart.
He drives Dr. Manhattan away.
Which was necessary because of the whole infinite power thing.
Yeah, infinite knowing.
Well, he would have had the tachyons and he wouldn't have known.
Yeah, but he couldn't have stayed with... Because if he saw the tachyon thing, you just would have been like, well, that sucks. That blocks my vision. I better take it out. Like,
yeah.
Well, you just said he wouldn't have experienced it.
Well, no, if he was at the tachyon machine, if he, walked into the room and was like, there's a tachyon machine, that thing blocks my vision, he would know. He just doesn't know Ozymandias.
And he would have said, oh, it's just one of my experiments, I'm working on something.
No,
sorry.
It makes sense to defoc and get rid of the guy who can immediately change anything into glass or steam or anything. It makes sense.
You don't want him around.
You don't just invite him into your house and go oh man, I might be doing an evil plan, but I guess I'll just invite this guy who can do most anything into it. He can walk through walls.
Or he could have told Dr. Manhattan, because Dr. Manhattan wouldn't have cared.
Well, no, he cared.
I think he cared. It was just, wow, that happened, and telling would be bad. That would actually create worse things. Yeah, you can't tell. He cared enough that all those lives died, but he was like, well, can't do anything about it now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have, killed Ozymandias and everything, except that Ozymandias was the one who was prepared to make sure that basically continue to manipulate the strings enough to keep things together. Anyway, I don't know. But
I like the ending. I don't know.
I don't know why he couldn't have just removed the comedian.
See, I don't...
The fact that he murdered him made people suspicious.
It made Rorschach suspicious, but Rorschach's suspicious about everything.
But you know what?
What?
He still did it. Everything still happened. He killed the comedian.
Which is my point. It still would have happened anyway.
Well, no,
maybe
the comedian knew.
He would have said
So
something.
you remove him, but you don't just kick him out of a window.
What else would you do?
But Rorschach was
He
obviously...
could have murdered him and left him in the house. Rorschach wouldn't have known.
No, the comedian was... The comedian is a big, strong guy. That's the point. They're both...
Also,
he could have shot him.
Oh my gosh.
All of them would have been alerted.
There's plenty of guns in that house.
All of them would have been alerted because the comedian was a friend. They go to his funeral. Rorschach was obviously keeping tabs on everybody because he knew how to break into their houses, where they were. They were part of the government. He knew exactly where Manhattan was at. He knew where the comedian was living, and he knew, he kept tabs on all these people. So he would have known, no matter what or how he died, he would have known that the guy died and been murdered. And if you just shot him, that would have still been a murder scene. Kicking out the window was just kind of a cool thing to do, I guess.
I mean, if you're gonna do
also
it.
ruined that guy's day who had to clean the pavement.
That's how Rorschach noticed the murder scene in the beginning.
He would have gotten to it. There would have been a murder.
Like a week later.
So?
Or just, transport
an
an alien monster ahead of time.
What did he discover on the crime scene? He discovered nothing. He went into his room and said...
He discovered that the comedian died.
Yes, which he would have, because he would have been invited to the funeral of the comedian.
No, he wouldn't have. Nobody would have known to invite him.
No,
Yeah, everybody, but he keeps tabs of everybody else. He would have known that they went. He knew that Moloch went to the funeral. He would have gone to the funeral. He would have also read in the newspaper that he reads that the guy died and was murdered, possibly shot or kicked out of a window or his neck broken. He was murdered in some form.
I don't know. I
In
feel
a
like
room.
less suspicious. Maybe poison him.
the point-
Make it look like an like a heart attack.
The point is,
Guy was high strung.
the point is, Ozymandias did it and he won. There's no problems with his plan because the plan went through. You're basically trying to fix something that's not broken.
There's a whole bunch of things saying you shouldn't do that.
But it was stupid.
No.
It's not stupid.
It's stupid.
How is it
No.
This
stupid?
book is stupid.
This book is great.
This book
This
is
book
wonderful.
is 300 pages too
the
long.
moral complications of him killing millions of people for peace
Yep,
and
but-
them not having to tell, even though they are the keepers of peace and the good guys, is so mind-blowing. And you're sitting here nitpicking the
Stupid.
little things he's doing.
Yeah, which is, and the only reason killing the comedian wasn't even part of his original plan. Killing the comedian came up because the comedian found out.
I'm gonna go with me and Paul have very good arguments, and Brian's just saying stupid over and over again.
This
So our
book was
arguments
awful.
are much more valid.
Yeah,
Well,
10 times
obviously, I give 2 thumbs up. I love it.
Are we finishing already? There's
Well,
still
I
more to
feel-
argue about.
I feel like we're gonna go forever.
Your argument was just stupid.
You're literally saying
Hold on,
it's
Here,
stupid.
tell you what. Here, I'll go with something that's
I was gonna
specifically
say,
stupid.
if you're gonna bring up something
the
specific, do it.
pirate story is stupid.
The pirate story. Oh, that is so.
I was ready for your argument while we were podcasting and I lied dormant for a while and looked it up. But boom, because I happened to flip to that page while flipping through. I'm excited. Okay. So the pirate story, while seemingly not totally relevant.
Yes, it's an allegory for the whole thing. But you know what?
Yes.
The whole thing's an allegory for the whole thing. It's stupid and unnecessary.
Can something be an
Wait, it's
allegory
not-
for itself?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't think anything can be an allegory for itself.
It insists upon itself.
No, but see, here's the thing. No, because I looked it up, and according to one of the little in-between, end of the chapters, background story, world building
Also
they
way
discuss
unnecessary.
the.
How is that
comic.
unnecessary? That gives you background into the original Minutemen and Crime Busters.
Dude.
That's how you learn about Dollar Bill, who's there's a whole bunch of really
Aside
cool
from Dollar
characters.
Bill, none of that information is necessary to move the plot
It's completely
forward.
necessary. You go back into Hollis Mason, who which we didn't mention before, but he was the first Night Owl who Dan I can't say his last name. I'm not good with names either. Dan
Night Owl.
Dryberg basically gets the inspiration, is inspired to become the new Night Owl because of you get his backstory, some stuff there. Anyway,
It makes the story more immersive and it's crazy.
yeah. But the author of the book, and I believe the artist, of the in-book comic book, they were actually 2 of the people, or at least the author was actually one of the people who was kidnapped and brought to the island of creative minds that develop Squid Thing, it's not even, so even that, while in addition to being an allegory, ties into the actual plot.
Also, who would have developed Squid Thing?
Well,
Look, it was written... I will give you, Squid Thing's a little weird, but obviously it's a giant squid, and it's
a lot weird.
It looks crazy, and it's ridiculous. But that's the point. It's supposed to look like an alien race that's very intimidating and could possibly completely destroy us. I mean, literally the thing was the size of several of our buildings. Like, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, and the point was just to unite everyone, so that's why the alien thing worked. It was
because it was literally something to look at and say, that's what we're fighting against. That giant squid psychic thing.
And it's very far from looking human, and so it helps unite everyone together, which is the ultimate goal.
Here's the question. What happens when there's no more squid things?
Well, that's kind of what Dr. Manhattan hints at the end, is that this works for now, but it's not going to last because people can't get along forever.
Yeah,
they need more squid thing attacks. But I mean, granted, when you have teleportation that just explodes things...
Well, yeah, because it's imperfect.
Also, at a certain point, I mean, if you're in Utopia, you're not going to destroy it just because, you get to... I figure Ozymandias' thinking is you get to a point in Utopia where even if you know that the past was a lie, because you're living in a utopia and can feed everybody and everybody's got food and nobody has political differences, why does it matter?
No, it still matters.
Well, it's not going to create war or everything. Everybody's going to be like...
People will create war.
People will be like, that stinks.
Yes, that's the point.
See, because in Utopia, people like you don't exist. It's all people who agree that Watchmen's a great book. And then nobody has wars.
That's the point of it is that, yes, Ozymandias ends up, he's incredibly optimistic to the point of being wrong, but he's deciding the only way to take care of criminals and to get people to stop wars and stop fighting,
mostly the wars and the nuclear holocaust that's going to happen,
is to make everyone on the same team against another team. Yes, it's not going to last forever because people can't get along forever, but that's the shortcoming of his plan that he, being so wrapped up in being the savior of mankind, doesn't see, is that it's not going to last forever. There.
Cool. Argument, your argument. Anything else you want to bring up?
Pirate story's awful.
That's not awful! There's a shark in it.
There is. He stabs the shark in the eye.
He stabs the shark a lot.
And then rides the shark to his ocean, his home. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I personally wasn't too fond of the pirate story. It wasn't the best, but it was creepy. That was one thing. There was bloated corpses, cause that's why he was flying, and the bloated corpses were talking to him, and it was creepy. Birds started eating his bloated corpses. The sharks then attacked, and then he used the shark's bloated corpse. It was...
A lot of bloated corpses.
A pretty disgusting, story, I will give you that.
I'm not gonna, if you cut the Black Freighter, well, that's what, again, I hate to reference the movie, but that's what they did. They didn't even mention it in the movie. Because you can live without it, and...
You can live without a lot of this.
Almost all of it was put into the movie, and the movie was great.
The movie was good because it was quicker and less detailed.
Oh my gosh!
Nah.
You're just so wrong! I can't even...
Terrible.
I'm away from the mic, but it was probably for the best, because I just...
I think I broke Paul.
No, I'm not broken! I'm right!
Any other disagreements?
Book is stupid.
Other than
you're doing the thing again.
Other than saying it's stupid, any other disagreements?
Give me a second.
No, I'm not giving you a second. Do you have a disagreement, or are we gonna end the podcast? Because else we're gonna go on for 3 hours just arguing that it's stupid and it's not stupid.
There's just more nitpicks, but in the interest of time, I'll let it go.
Thank you, because nitpicks don't make any difference. Which I would argue that all of your arguments were nitpicks, but okay. So, I give it a 2 thumbs up. I liked it a lot. It was one of my favorite books. I read it before, but I like this book a lot. I like the moral implications of all of it. So yeah, I like it. 2.
I'm angry now. Okay, but if we're doing, it's not the book's fault. Yeah, no, I'm gonna say I really love this book. I had read this before when they were hyping up the movie. My dad had actually read it when it first came out and was like, "Oh, you should read this." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't read comics a lot." See, I almost name dropped, but I didn't. And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And I read it and I'm like, "Oh, well, this is actually really good." And again, I do like that no one is really wrong in it, too. Like, Ozymandias murdered a bunch of people, which is wrong, but at the same time, stopped a potentially greater amount of death, so like that's not really wrong.
Everybody's just pretty wrong.
There's no thing to get over. It's not like Batman where it was like, oh, the Talons are attacking. Oh, I defeated the Talons, and that's how it worked. Like, it just... The ties got knotted in such a way that you didn't want it to happen. It's not, like, nobody came out unscathed.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Rorschach has a great line, which is basically when they're all agreeing that we need to keep this a secret. We're going to have to keep this a secret even though we don't like it. It's a compromise for the greater good. And Rorschach's point of view is no, never compromise, never surrender, and even in the face, was it in the face of Armageddon? I think
it was the face of Armageddon.
I think it was Armageddon. Again, there's like a lot. I like trying to quote this book without actually writing the quotes down, which I'm sure is doing wonders for Alan Moore's work. But yeah, so that's for doing the thumbs thing again. That's got 2 thumbs up from me because, again, it's very dark and you got to know that going into it. Otherwise, you're in for a rude awakening. But it's great. I greatly enjoy it and feel that almost everything in there is necessary and crucial. And anyone who speaks after me saying otherwise is probably wrong. Okay, Brian.
I feel like I should have gone before you.
Ha! And now you've seen my ploy. If only you'd seen through my tachyons.
Too bad everyone who had an opinion before me was stupid.
I mean, see, I was gonna say, you could have just said that the person before me was...
Yeah,
tachyons, it's alright. No, I've defended.
Everybody has their opinions, and that's the point. It's just Brian doesn't have very good arguments for his opinions.
No, this book is 300 pages too long. There is way too much waste and boring. The digital version I have is 411 pages, Paul.
Oh, okay. I was looking through my paper version. Keeps changing back to...
Including covers and all the extra stuff. 411 pages. This could be a 111-page book and it'd be fine. You'd be able to fit all of the story in there.
I don't.
Everything would make it in that is critical. There is 300 pages of filler. This was a waste of time. I hate this book.
You are so wrong. I don't...
I hate to, like...
I'm gonna have to go ahead... know what? I'm gonna challenge myself now. I'm gonna cut and paste panels from the digital version and make a less than 100-page version of this book that still tells the core story.
Well, that's not the point! It's not... yeah, you can abridge anything. That's not the issue.
And you know what? I bet your abridged version wouldn't win a Hugo Award. And or be put on top lists of the best comic book ever.
That's because everybody who has an award is wrong.
That's because
we've all seen the Academy Awards.
Apparently, everybody except Brian is wrong. So, just to go out to you viewers, all of you are wrong.
Yes,
according
I agree.
To Brian. I hate to down people's opinions, but you're being very negative with your opinions. Mostly, you're being very attacking with your opinions. Thank you, Brian, for being such a jerk.
You're welcome.
I'll put down your opinions. They're stupid. See, that's what it feels like. Your opinions are stupid. Okay, sorry. I really got mad. I'm sorry. I genuinely got upset.
In case you haven't noticed, hate this book.
Yeah, apparently. So, 4 thumbs out of 6. I guess Brian didn't use thumbs at all. He didn't say anything.
Zero thumbs.
He just said,
if I could cut thumbs off and feed them to the dogs that Rorschach killed.
They're dead, so really your argument... I'm gonna nitpick your argument. They're dead, so they can't eat them. So you're... Yeah. The next book we're reading is Scott Pilgrim, an independent title. We'll be reading all of it, so it's a lot. I know it is, but...
all 6 volumes?
All 6 volumes. So... Good luck with that. I'll be reading it in 2 weeks, so hopefully you can too. Yay!
Woohoo! And... you can go ahead and find us using the series of tubes at Facebook at as someone who doesn't read comics. You can follow us on our Twitter, where we are at I Don't Read Comics, and you can send your questions, comments, concerns, problems, and hate mail to me at idon'treadcomics@gmail.com.
If we don't hear something, you are so wrong.
I'm probably gonna read it too.
I'm going to write an email
too.
just to say you're wrong, and probably, as the address line, say stupid.
Please do. That would give us one email.
Oh.
You didn't have to let us know. Let them know
I
that we're
was going to
so
say,
bad.
as someone who doesn't check email, that hurts my feelings.
Well, thank you for listening.
And as always, the book was better.
In this case, the movie.
Oh my God, you suck!